What's up? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and this is my quick review of the LDARC Tiny 6X. Now, they came out with a Tiny 6 already. This is the Tiny 6X. The difference is this one has 7x15 motors, whereas the older one has 6x15 motors. And there is a big difference in it having 7x15 motors. I think this is the new sweet spot for these tiny whoops, and a lot of the community has realized this. So most people tend to use 7x15 now, and I have been building tiny whoops with 7x15 motors, and tiny whoop has come a long way now. This is my original tiny whoop from tinywhoop.com, and it has the special 3-bladed props on it and all, and I still have this old camera on it. But this was a pretty nice flyer though, until I got the LDARC Tiny 6 and Tiny 7. They had a really nice FC, a flight controller with the VTX built into it. And so all you had to do was add a receiver. Most other companies were going with the flight controller having the receiver built in. But I think it's better to have the VTX built in, because a VTX is definitely heavier than a receiver. You can get a really tiny receiver and add it to these things. So that was a nice way to get the weight down, a better option than what other companies were using. And so I think the Tiny 6 and the Tiny 7, well, I'm just going to say the Tiny 6 because that's the traditional tiny whoop size. The small, I'm talking about just the smaller size ones. That was the best option, I think, in my opinion. The Tiny 6 flew better than all the rest of them. It was the best tiny whoop until these 7x15 motor frames came along, and Ishin came out with that E011, and Bold Clash came out with the B Whoop. The B Whoop was actually the first quad that I had with 7x15 motors, and I made this thing that I was calling my Candy Whoop, and this was my best whoop. It's my lightest 7x15 setup, and so this one was my best tiny whoop for some time. This actually consists of an LDARC flight controller from the Tiny 6, and this has the frame of the B Whoop. And so 7x15 motors and a super light flight controller, and we also have a little receiver in here, the DSMX Pro. You can go lighter than that DSMX Pro, but this was pretty ideal for me. I really like the way this little receiver sticks out the back here, and I like the reception. And so I was rocking with that one. And now this Tiny 6X has come along, and I think this is the best 1S tiny whoop available. I think this is better than all the rest. The reason is, I think these motors are more powerful, and they're definitely more powerful than the E011 motors. I'm not sure if they're more powerful than the Bold Clash upgrade motors, because Bold Clash do have some upgrade motors that they came out with 7x15, but I'm not sure. All I know is that this is the best tiny whoop I have touched. This thing has more power than all the rest of them. It's actually as light as this one. This one was my lightest one. And let me get the scale out and check it again and make sure. So let's see. So it's zeroed out. So my Candy Whoop is weighing in at 25.6 grams. And so let's see this one. Remove the battery. 26.4 grams. So this is actually heavier. And well, I know why, because I have a larger receiver in there. I have a DSMX receiver, a full range one in here. And as you can see, I got the receiver's wires down, sticking out the bottom on the sides there. And so this one is a little heavier than this one because I added that larger receiver now. But this one still flies with more power than this one. I think it's the motors, really. The frame seems like it might be a little more beefier because they added these supports here to all the edges of the frame to make it more sturdy. Although the original Tiny 6 frame, I was unable to break that. I did a bunch of flying with that, a bunch of crashes, and it never broke. And I have crashed this thing a lot too, and this is very sturdy. It's a lot more stiff. The original Tiny 6 frame is really soft feeling. I don't have any more around because I converted all my Tiny 6s to these type of things here. These tiny whoops with the 7x15 motors, because it makes a really big difference. The punch out is a lot better, so you're able to ascend faster when you're flying, and it's just a blast to fly indoors. This thing even flies outdoors, but it acts a little weird in wind, but you can fly it in wind if you're flying in acro mode. But if you keep it in angle mode, it's really hard to fly in the wind with any of these. But I must say that the flight controller seems to be a little different. The lights are a little different on there that blink when you fire them up. And I think that that one might have an upgraded flight controller to this one. But I think the flight controller in this one might be a little better, because this one acts a little better in the wind than that one does. Because I can fly this one faster in the wind than I can fly that one without it acting weird. This one, it flies really nice indoors, but when you're flying it outdoors, if you're trying to fly it fast in angle mode, the accelerometer gets all weird and sometimes it pitches backwards. You guys might see that in the flight demo, because I'm going to do a flight demo with it to show you guys how it flies outdoors. And everything else is just about the same. The video quality is still just about the same. It's probably identical, because the cameras are 800 TV lines, and so same exact camera. Everything is the same except for the frame and the flight controller and these motors. These motors are the best thing about this. It flies really nice with those motors, and it's just a really awesome flyer. Flies better than all my other tiny whoops, especially indoors. And it comes with this really nice case here. This case is really awesome. King Kong must, well, I'm so used to saying King Kong, LDARC must really be paying attention to these reviews, and they know that we like the cases, so they're getting better and better with the cases. This storage case is really awesome. It has more than one compartment, so there's a small compartment up top where you can store things, maybe the props or whatnot, or extra parts and everything. They give you a bunch of extra parts. Inside here, they gave us 3 LDARC HV batteries, 250 milliamp hours. And so a nice instructions manual. They gave us extra parts here. These are like the little grommets and the little screws to hold the flight controller down. They even gave us extra rubber bands there to hold the wires from the motors down to the post there. And so they gave us different options of colors with props and canopies. They even gave us some extra power leads there in case something happens to the power lead. And I got some things in here that don't even belong. I got some batteries in there. But yeah, they gave us a whole bunch of stuff. And there's a little spot in here. They actually gave us some prop removal tools. And here you can see this is the little outline for the Tiny 6X to sit in. They gave us some rubber bands as well. And over on the side here, they actually have a charger in here. So this is a 1S charger. It charges up to HV. You can charge it with LiPo power, or you can charge it via USB, micro USB. But when you're charging with micro USB, it only works the first 3 sockets there. So only the first 3 slots there work. And if you're using battery power, for some reason, all of them work. But I figured that out after playing around with it. And this here is a LiPo checker. They give you a 1S LiPo checker with the Power Whoop 2.0 pitch on this one here. See if we can get it to focus. And then on the other end is the normal Tiny Whoop micro connector there. And so really awesome case here. I think you can even remove this charger here and use it without the case. So pretty nice. I think they really nailed it with this one. This is the best tiny whoop that runs off 1S that I think you can get. So let's go check this thing out in flight. Let's see. So let me show you guys the punch out of this little thing. And that's incredible for a tiny whoop. Okay, let's look at how fast this thing flies. We're in angle mode. Let me bring it back over here. Okay, we're going to get rid of the accelerometer. And I did bang out with it. But let's do some acrobatics with it. Let me try to get out of the sun there. So if you do fast flips, it's really stable. So you can do fast FPV flying and do some flips and rolls and still have control of it. I think that this would make an awesome trainer. Whoa. I think that this will make an awesome trainer if you actually got rid of the camera and just added a regular blade inductrix top to this and just practice your acro mode on it. This wind is really picking up out here, so it's kind of blowing it around. And the battery seems like it's dying too. So definitely flipping nice, but indoors it'll flip even nicer. Being manipulated by the wind a little out here, fighting against the wind. So really awesome flyer though. Let's try to do some fast flying. Let's see how fast we can get a speed pass on this. It does fly a little weird in the wind here. And the wind's pushing it back constantly. But really nice flyer. So far, this is the Tiny Whoop with the most power that I have. It slightly edges out the one that ones that I built with the E011. So really awesome job by LDARC. Let's see if we can land it over here. We're not going to be able to land it anyway. The battery died. And so that's it. A quick demo flight of the King Kong or LDARC Tiny 6X. Thanks for watching.